Hey, what is up, everybody? I'm sorry I'm about a minute late. My dog ate my homework. It's true. Well, sort of. I'll give you guys a second to join me here, and I'll tell you the story of what happened with my dogs and the homework this morning. But today we're going to go over the assembly of my new letter banks. And I'm going to give you all the tips and tricks that I can come up with and answer any questions you might have. If you guys are watching this after the live, no problem. You can watch this on demand anytime that you want. You can also drop any questions you have in the chat there, and I'll answer them either live or after the fact, because I'll still get notified about it. So I just am making this video to try to help you guys get the most out of these letter banks. I think you're really going to love them. All right, I see we've got a couple people here. Say hey in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from, who you are. Make sure that you've given StreamYard permission to use your name so that I know. Otherwise, you're just going to have to give me your name because I don't know who you are because it doesn't tell me. But good morning. I'm glad you guys are here. All right, we got 3 or 4 already here. We'll wait about a minute or two and get started. This is going to be a lot of fun to talk about these letter banks. What's your day looking like, everybody? What are you guys doing this morning? What you creating? What's your weather look like? What's up from Texas? Sorry, I can't see who you are, but it's good to see you. I'm glad you're here from my down south neighbor. That's awesome. And it is chilly here in Oklahoma. I kept the layers on here to go to work and to shoot this video because I'm a little chilly. Yeah, working. Me too. Me too. What is up, Judy? Good to see you from Broken Arrow, right down the road from me. You guys are very close. My actual real neighbors. I'm so glad to have met you and your husband. You guys are fantastic. Hope we get a chance to hang out a little bit more sometime in the future. That'd be great. So it's a little chilly here in Broken Arrow right now. All right. We'll get started about another minute here. So I'll let more people get here. And we will get started talking about these letter banks. We'll tell you what, here's what I'll do to get started. I'll tell you my story this morning because I had my letter banks all set up here to talk to you guys about, and I still have quite a few. But I ran to the store to do an errand real quick. A lot of you guys know that we have some, I call them puppies. They're about a year old now. They're a little older than a year, but we have 2 puppies. And I left the house for half an hour. I came back, and they had climbed up on the counter and grabbed 2 of my letter banks and chewed them to pieces. So the ones I was going to use for examples look horrible because the dogs ate them. Took them apart. So I really quickly cut some more, and we'll talk through them now. All right. I know, Judy, it's a pain. Stupid dogs. All right. So let's talk through these letter banks. I've got several of them here next to me. I'll hold up the letter J as an example. If you guys haven't seen them yet, this is basically what they look like. And they're a lot of fun. The font has got a little bit of personality and quirk to them, so that's cool. And one of the features that I absolutely love the most is that the base is exactly the same for every single one of them, all 26, exactly the same base. So this makes your life so much easier. All you have to do is edit this one slot for your material, and then all of the letters will fit this exactly the same way. It's really, really nice, just like that. So let me talk through the base for a minute, and if you guys have any questions, let me know in the chat. I'm happy to answer them as I go. So actually, let me back up. The material that I recommend, you should be using 1/4-inch material for all of this project. You can use 1/8 inch for the acrylic. There's no need to use 1/4 for that if you don't want to. I did because I had it, but you can do 1/8 inch for the acrylic. You could do 1/8 inch for this front letter here, but I highly recommend that you do 1/4 for the rest of it. A couple reasons why. It ends up being cheaper or the same in the long run because if you use 1/8 inch, you've got to use twice as many spacers as you otherwise would if you use 1/4 inch. It's just a lot easier. All of these letters will take between 1 and 1.5 sheets of material. When I say sheets, I'm referring to a Glowforge sized sheet. But if you have a larger laser, of course, that doesn't matter to you. But I always use the Glowforge as a kind of point of reference size. Of course, you can cut these on any laser. That doesn't matter. But I use 11 by 19 inch workspace for my material. So the letter A, for example, you can get out of 1 sheet. The W or the M takes about a sheet and a half, almost 2 sheets, because they're wider than others. So I highly recommend you use 1/4 inch material. Now, as hopefully all of you guys know by now, no material or almost no material is actually what it's labeled. If I say 1/4 inch, it's rare that it's actually 0.25. However, a whole batch that I've got here actually turns out to be 0.25. I also have a batch that is 0.21, or actually 0.205, way thinner. Well, I'm going to use this as an example for you guys. When I was cutting all 26 letters, I didn't realize I grabbed sheets from different stacks. And so some of my letters turned out to be thinner than others because the material was significantly thinner. And I want to talk to you about what happens when that happens. So since all of the bases are made the same way, like this, essentially what you're doing is the thickness of your bank here goes from right here down to right here and covers this slot where the money comes in and out at the bottom. In the design, it's made to have a back piece right here. In fact, let me hold this up. This would be a better example. I've got the letter B that's all taken apart, hasn't been glued together yet. So you've got the back piece for each one of your letters, and they've got the tab at the bottom, and that goes into the base. Then in the file, they'll be left to right. They're almost all exactly the same order. The next 2 pieces in the file are like this, where they've got a 2-inch slot at the top. All right. And in the file, you'll see them sitting like this, just to manage the space better. So these 2, as you can imagine, go just like this when you glue them on, so that you have the slot here. Then the next 4, and of course they'll be nested as close as they can, are like this, and they all have the same exact slot in the bottom of them like this. So they go on just like that. Let's see if I can actually hold these. Yeah, sort of. Like that. And then the top of the base is like this, and it goes in like so, just like that. And what ends up happening is, let me see if I can show you from the side, the combination of all of these 6 or technically 7 layers comes almost to the front of this slot. And then when you put your acrylic and the front of the B on, it's going to completely cover this slot. And so you won't see it from the top. And when you look at it from the bottom, it'll do just like that. And it will let all the money out the bottom. It'll work great. And hey, good morning, Ohio. Good to see you. Here's what happens. If these materials or these layers are significantly thinner than 0.25, it'll be moving further and further back away from the edge of this slot. And so you may need to add another layer, in other words, 7. So what I would do is I would measure, or you can do the math. You don't have to actually measure it. If you're, you have to measure your material. But what I would do is you need to have the depth of these spacers, not the back one, the spacers need to be 1.3 inches or more to cover this bottom hole. 1.3 inches, and that's in the all the documents too. What you want to do is you want to measure your material, and if it's say 0.23, divide 1.3 inches by 0.23 and see how many of these you need. Okay, and then that way you'll know how many you need to cover this. What I would do is the 2 back ones that have the slot in the top, you don't want more than 2 of these because they start to cover up the slot in the bottom. So I wouldn't do another one. What I would do is I would add another one of these spacers if you need it. Okay. So in other words, hey, what's up, Montana? Good morning. So if you need more than 4 spacers, go to 5. You shouldn't need more than 5 though. And you just put them right on like this, and then that will adequately cover up that hole. All right. So let's talk about, and by the way, if you want to just do 5 of those spacers, no matter what, you can do that. It just makes the bank thicker, and it makes it better for the end user. So that's great. All right. So you're going to glue all these together. Oh, let me talk about lining up layers. A lot of you guys ask about how to get these layers lined up nicely. Let me give you a little bit of a tip of what I do. Before I glue them onto this one, I will tend to glue all these together. And what I will do is I use super glue, but you can use whatever you want. What I will do is I will glue them together one at a time, say these 2 here. glue them like this. And I know that my camera's not low enough for you to see the table, but I will put them against the table like this, wherever the flat side is. And that way I'll push them against the table, and that side will always be perfectly lined up. And of course, that will automatically mean that this top side would be mostly lined up. And all I have to do is just push from these two sides. I'm using the table or the flat side as a guide to keep it. And I'll hold it long enough for it to set. And then I'll put the next one on, do the same thing. Again, just kind of tap against the table. And when I'm using super glue, that works really well because I'm using the table. I know you can hear it, you just can't see it. I'm using the table to align them all on the bottom. So at least I know for sure that bottom is perfect. And then I just do these with my hands. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Once I get these all dry, then it's really easy just to put it on to this one. And in the case of the B, I can use this bottom, the bottom here as another aligning line. So hopefully that helps as far as that's concerned. Let's take a look at the base. The base is 3 layers all the time. One more thing about the thickness of your material too. If your material is really thin, I have this all in the other videos too. This is 0.69 inches long, 0.69. So you want to make sure that your material, when stacked into 3, is long enough so that it doesn't stick out the bottom. All right. There's nothing I can do to control that because I don't know how thick your material is. But make sure that the 3 layers added together is at least 0.69. And if it's not, you're going to want to shorten that. Okay. All right. Here's the 3 layers. Really easy. Top layer is always this one here. The middle layer is 2 L shapes. See if I can do this here. 2 L shapes like this, right here and here. And they just align perfectly with, when you glue them together, you'll align this line here. And then you'll align this with the top and the sides, making sure that this slot is perfectly aligned. And what that does is that allows this piece then to slide in like this as the door. And then I don't think I can hold this all up without dropping it. This is great. And then you got the bottom piece, which is this one right here. So they line up. When you put them all together again, they look like this, just like that. Okay. Now, another thing that I found out, you like that the base is the same for every layer, every letter. That's awesome. I'm glad you like that, because when I discovered that, here's the thing. Let me tell you the insider thing. I was probably half done with the letters, probably, I don't know, 13 or so in, and I was making every base different. And then I realized, nope, this is not the right answer. And I started all over because I knew that was the right answer to do. So I'm glad. I think you're going to really enjoy that. So here's another tip. You can, and I have done it many times, you can make this door out of the same material you make this, because it's the same thickness. It'll slide just fine. But here's 2 tips. Number 1, I made it out of acrylic, and acrylic is, I mean, in my experience, always thinner than its corresponding wood. For example, if it's labeled 1/4 inch, I found that it's always thinner than 1/4 inch wood. And so it looks amazing, and it slides in and out perfectly with no problem whatsoever. And so it's a good look, but it also slides easily. So here's another tip. If you're going to use wood for all 3 of these layers, you want to make sure, hear me out here. If you paint all these and you paint this one's going to end up thicker because you painted it. And so it may or may not slide very well. This one is not painted, so it slides fine. If you paint all these, you're going to need to paint the spacers and all these pieces and this, so they all end up roughly the same thickness, if you follow me. Because if you paint this one and not that middle spacer, this probably will not slide. So what I think I would do if I were you is I would make them out of acrylic. It's gorgeous. It costs very little. This is a very small percentage of a sheet. And then it looks great, and you can do that. Okay. And of course, you can see the coins in the bottom. Also, there's this little loop on the end, and that's made so that you can, so that I can lose it on the table. I have too many things on the table. I don't know what I did with it, but there's a little T-shaped piece that comes in your file. Here it is, like this. And that can just drop right in that hole and just stop it from sliding like this, so that it doesn't just slide open. Or you can, hey, what's up, Jewel? Good to see you. you can do this. I left a link to these in the description. These are little tiny padlocks that are shaped like different animals. And I'm gonna tell you, they're cheap. I mean, they're not high quality, but they're cute. And I put it in the description there. And I got 4 of them for I think $7.99, something like that. And they are super cute. And you can just put them right like that and lock this shut if you want to. So that's another cute thing to do. I'm sure there are other brands and other types, but that's a really cute add-on as well. All right, what else about these? Okay, guys, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm watching as the best I can. Let me, excuse me, let me talk about the different letters. Some of them have letters that touch all of the edges, like, well, the H doesn't touch everything, but it's pretty close, like this, where like the J has some spaces where it doesn't touch right here. So let me talk about what I suggest here. What I would do is I would glue together all your spacers, okay? Then I would take your acrylic and I would glue the J onto the acrylic. Once that dries, I'm sorry I don't have it here to show you, but once that dries, you can look at the back of the J, right? And you can see every place that it's going to touch the spacer behind it. And I would just put glue where it's touching the spacer, here, here, and here, so that you don't get glue right there. And I personally, we spent a lot of time designing these. I don't think you're going to need it. This is really solid. It's okay that there's not glue right here, and it just looks better when it's clean. You follow me? Also, that means that when you're painting the spacers, you don't necessarily need to paint the face of all the spacers except this top one, because you want to be able to see it right here that's gray or whatever color you chose. Follow me? Let me give you another example. Letter T, same thing, right? I didn't put any glue right there because I didn't want it to show up, but it's all here, 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 okay? So that's just another tip of how to do these. Yeah, Morgan, hey, what's up? Super easy to personalize. I love this. So let's talk about the different ways you can customize and personalize, right? So of course, customize, you can paint these different colors, the letters, the front letters. You can, here's the letter N. You can use pattern ply, endless pattern ply from Casey over at Smoky Hill Designs to give these all different kinds of looks. I'll talk about the name in just a minute. The top layer of the base, right? The top layer, different pattern plies if you want. And this is very inexpensive because you can get a lot of these from one sheet, okay? So this is just another way to get this a really custom look. And then what you can do is like I did here. Let me grab the B. And I wish I could show you the one that I made earlier that my dogs ate. If you are late to the broadcast, you know you missed that story, but my dogs ate them this morning. But what you can do is you can take one of the spacers, and I would do one of the ones toward the front, and you can just type out the person's name and weld it to the side, right like that, and put it in like that. And I used some frosted green glass acrylic, but I've also used silver. I've used green. I've used all kinds of things. So you can paint that. You can make it acrylic, whatever you want there, but you can weld their name in there, and it would look really, really cute. Okay. So Morgan, that's what I would do to personalize these. Very, very easy. And you could probably charge $5 to $7.50, maybe even $10 more for just that one thing right there. Pick any font that you like, make it bold, make it masculine, make it feminine, whatever you want to do. But that would be really cool and a very, very easy way to customize these. All right. Excuse me. Christy, how easy would it be to put lights in the middle? I thought about this one, and I want to do a follow-up on that. What you want to do is you could, if you put one of those circle LED bases, you could do that. I will tell you. Let me think about how I would do that, because I hadn't thought that all the way through. So let me see. Where would I put that? I'm thinking through Christy's question. The outline of the letter. Yes, I see. You said that. I'd have to think about how the lights would get up in there. You could put lights inside, I guess. But I was thinking of the circle LED bases. I don't know if that's what you're thinking of, Christy, or not. I'd have to think about how to do that. I'm not sure. I bet we can do it, though. Do you have any ideas of how? Because, ultimately, typically, you've got a tab that goes down into the circle LED base. And of course, this one wouldn't work because it's not acrylic. And I'd have to think about how to get that one down in there. So I think that'd be a lot of fun, but I'm not sure how to do that yet. What's up, Amanda? Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. I think you're going to love these. These are great. And I hope this video helps you guys. I'll go back and do another couple of videos too, but I just want to talk through all these pieces to make sure you're super comfortable with it. Where's the best place to purchase acrylic? There are lots of great places. So I'll just tell you a couple of them. CeruleanTides.com. Amanda does a great job there. So you can definitely check out what she has. Houston Acrylic is a great place as well. So you can check out that. Courtney down there does a great job as well. So you could buy from HoustonAcrylic.com or CeruleanTides.com. Either one of those are great. Somebody said you use fairy lights. I'm sorry, I don't know who's talking there because I can't see your name. But fairy lights would be fun too. The thing that I would consider is if you're putting fairy lights inside, you know, the money would tend to hit that and move it around and maybe crush them a little bit. So that might be something to consider, but that'd be a lot of fun. What else? What other kinds of questions do you guys have? I want to think through anything that I ran through while I was building these. Oh, yeah. So let me show you. I was talking about earlier about, let me hold these two up. So these two, the J and the M, they're made out of the same number, quantity-wise, of spacers, but the material thickness on the M is thinner than the J. Or let me see if I can even find. Oh, yeah, here's an even better example. The H was made out of my 0.25-inch thick materials, and the J was made out of significantly thinner, like I think a 0.21. And so it's got, let me hold this up. Let's see if I can do this in the camera. Let's see if I can do that. Can you guys, let me see if I can line these up visually. Yep, this is great TV, isn't it? You see how much thicker the M is? I mean, the H is than the M. Same number of spacers, but it ends up being a lot thinner. And so what ends up happening there is when you put this on the base, it doesn't reach far enough forward. So let me hold this up to you. Oh my gosh, I don't think you'll be able to see this. Doggone it. Can you see right here? It's not reaching and covering the entire slot because this is too thin. And so this needs one more spacer because the material is so thin to bring it out to the front. Okay. So that's what I talked about in the beginning of the video here. So if you came in late, back up there, but you need either 6 or 7 spacers, depending on how thick your material is. So make sure you measure that and check that out before you glue all those together. In fact, one of the ways you could do it is you could glue the back and all the spacers together. Don't put the acrylic on the front yet, and then just line it up on the base. And if you need to, you can put one more spacer on there. Okay, so that's another way to do it. All right. Amanda, how many sheets? I've got this also in all the other videos too. The number of sheets that each letter takes depends on the width of the letter. For example, the letter A takes just 1 sheet of material for Glowforge size, that is. The M is so stinking wide that it takes 1 and probably 2/3 of a sheet because it's just so much wider. So none of them take over 2 sheets. A huge number of them, I would say probably 70% of them take a sheet and about a quarter. Okay, so it really just depends on how wide the letter is. Great question. Your cost on these, if you do a good job on sourcing your materials, like for me, when I buy my 1/4-inch MDF, I've been able to buy it locally lately at a hardwood store that I buy them in 4x8 sheets and cut them down. And a whole sheet of 12x20 or 11x19 MDF cost me about, one sheet cost me about $1. So I've got maybe $2 in wood in these, usually less. And then the acrylic, I can probably get, depending on the letter, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I could probably get 6 acrylic sheets, maybe 7, depending on the letter. So that would cost me, I'm going to round, $1.50 for acrylic. So I've got way less than $5 in each one of these And so I can sell them for $30, $35 all day long and get great profit off them, even more than that, perhaps. Yay, Facebook user. I'm sorry I can't see your name, but you've been figuring out how to type your comments. Hello from Wolverine Country. Go Blue. Man, I am so freaking ready to smoke TCU and get into the championship. Would it not be amazing if we could beat Ohio State for the national championship? That would be incredible. But I digress. All right. MDF sheets cost you $4 to $5 Canadian, Morgan. Yep, I understand. There's not a lot we can do about that from place to place. But that still would mean, when you say sheet, you're talking about the Glowforge size sheet, I assume, Morgan. But that still would keep your cost at around $10. So that's not terrible. And if you can get it cheaper somewhere else, that's great as well. All right. What other kinds of questions do you have? Let me see. What else can I answer about these? Again, if you came in late, one of the things I love the most is that all of these use exactly the same base slot. So it's really cool to be able to swap them out. You can paint these. You can use pattern ply. It's all, I saw somebody ask pattern ply. Let me back up. I've never used pattern ply. Is the surface finished? Yes, it's finished. You don't need to clear coat it or anything. Comes out beautiful just like this. Love it, love it. And when you look at how much that costs per sheet, it seems like a lot, but when you, it might be $15 to $20 a sheet, but I can get a lot of these out of one sheet, and it really ups the quality of your product so much. So I highly recommend that. I really didn't check that out. All right. What else? Anything else? Let me know what questions you guys have. Do I mask pattern ply? I don't. Nope. I find that any smoke stains I can just wipe off with a baby wipe or with a lens wipe or whatever I have close. Even I've used water and a paper towel. It just washes off for me. So I've never had to. The only exception would be I have used white pattern ply or something that's really light. And every now and again, that yellowy color will stay there. But that's the exception and not the rule. What else can I talk to you about? I love my great friend Crystal helps me do a lot of this painting just for time's sake. I did some of these. She did most of them. But like this letter K, this gold is just gorgeous. I love the pattern ply options. Like the M has this marble like this. Again, the H. The H here. I bought some acrylic here that has some kind of like confetti in it. I got that from Houston Acrylic. And I thought that was really kind of fun just for an option. Yeah, again, we talked about putting a name on the side. I love them. You can do so many different fonts, have a lot of fun with that. Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate it. You love my pattern ply choices. Thank you. I hope you're, I am confident that these things are going to be huge money makers for you. They're inexpensive to make and they're going to be very easy to sell. And the customization of putting a kid's name on it is going to be great. Oh, one more thing. I covered this at the very beginning, but I know some of you got here late. Well, two things. One, if you're going to put somebody's name on it, you can put it on the curved side. And if you know how to do that in your program, that's fantastic. That really looks very custom to curve it around. But you can also just put it on the straight side of whatever you have. The other thing we talked about earlier is when you're gluing the acrylic onto the spacers and you have a letter that has a space like this where you can see the spacer behind, highly recommend that you just put the glue here. Don't put it right there because it'll look nice and clean if you don't. All right. So make sure you pay attention to that. And then as far as painting the faces of the spacers, the faces, I would make sure you paint this one here because you're going to see it. All right. Same thing again with the M or the N or the J that we started out with here is I would paint this edge here so that you can see it nice and clean like that. All right. We love you. I hope this helps you make a ton of money. And I'm going to get a drink because my throat is tired. But if you have any questions, let me know. I'd love to help you with that. In the meantime, go grab that, start making stuff, watch all the videos that I have besides this one. Have a great morning, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me. I will see you guys in the group. Take care.